Alrighty, got my Stihl MS 362. I'm going to show you how to pull out the carb. It's a little tricky and there's not much information available. So pop off the main cover, pop off the air filter. If you ever need to check the air filter, this is two parts, just so you know the top part pulls off. So make sure they're both clean. They just cozy together. Next, we're going to pop out this little arm here that connects to our choke control, like switching between choke and run and off. So that we're just going to push up on here with the screwdriver. It's going to pop out there. There, we got that out. So that's the orientation for that. It just goes in, when you're putting it back in, it'll go in there. And then push back in that hole. And you're going to take an 8mm socket. There's two nuts holding on this cover here, so pop that one off. There's another one right here. So two nuts holding this boot on, pop those off. Once you got those two nuts off, you can just pull this cover off. It'll just slide out. It should be really easy. So you can see this top port here opens and closes when we open and close the throttle. And this one here will move as we adjust the choke. So one thing to note before we take this off, there is a little wire here connecting to here. So when you pull this off here, just be careful not to yank it too far off or you're going to disconnect it. So before you go further, it would be a good idea to just take a picture of what you've got. The linkage here is a bit tricky. I struggled with it for quite a while. So this ziggly clip here, it goes on top of this trigger here. I had it underneath and things weren't clicking right. Okay, so next, in order to get this off, we have to remove it from these boots here. So there's a boot here and here. Just stick a flat screwdriver in there or something and just pry it off. It's just a rubber boot holding it on. See it pop out that side. This side just pops off. You'll see that just fits on these little circular things on either side. So just gonna help with friction. So once we get that off, we can carefully slide it off these two bolts here, pulling backwards. Again, just remember to be careful not to yank too aggressively. There's a wire here as well. And then as well, the yellow one on the side I already showed you for the kill switch. So you can just move that to the side. And now we got access to our carburetor. Carburetor's right here. So you can pull that off the boot. It should pop out of there, hopefully without too much difficulty. We'll slide that out. There you go. There's your carburetor. So my chainsaw was dying when I let off the throttle. And when I pulled some of this stuff off, there was a huge pile of sawdust in here. So if you're having issues, definitely pull some of this off and check in here. Make sure you don't have obvious signs of sawdust in your carburetor. Now there could be clogs further inside, but definitely a good starting point. So once we have this off, we can pull it apart. So there's 4 screws here we'll undo. That'll pull the top off. And then there's 1 screw on the bottom as well that we can open up. Pretty simple here. 1 screw. There we go. So you get this apart. There's a little film that fits on there, so you're gonna make sure that this screen, I guess you could call it, is clean. And then make sure that everything's clean in here as well. And that'll just sit back on there once you've got it cleaned. We'll pop off these 4 screws. You can also pop this plastic piece off the carburetor. So I got those 4 screws out, and now the top just pops off. So you got this piece and then this piece here. You can check this as well, make sure this is moving okay. And that's how you take your carburetor out and apart on the Stihl MS 362. think this works for some other models too. I'm not sure which other ones it works, but I think the 361 is similar, and also possibly the 391, 392. All right, peeps, so we got our new carb here. So the valve here is going to line up with the fitting. So just push that on, and just make sure you connect it with the gas fitting there. Just push it on. This. Then we're going to take this little piece and slap it back on where it was over the adjustments for the carb. Just slides on. Pretty simple. Now we're going to pop this back on. Make sure it's clean. Just be gentle with the wires. So it might take some encouragement, just wiggling to get these bolts through the holes. And then we're gonna pop these boots on both sides. All right, so we got that. Now we're gonna put the linkage back on, so it's gonna go this way. So we slide it through there. You're gonna push it down and push it down there so it clicks. Once you get that on, you're gonna pop this cover on. Don't know what this is called. And you're just gonna put the nuts back on for this. Right, now we're gonna double check our linkage here. So we got the throttle all the way down into the full choke position. Then we go up to there. So you can see now it's in there. We squeeze the trigger, so that was high idle. Now here we're in a run position. And we flip this up. It goes into the off position. So we got off. So when we're in off, we got this metal piece here is touching the metal in there. Hard to see. Then we go down to run. So it looks the same up in there. We got high idle. Sorry. That's high idle. And then down to full choke. All right. Then you want to throw your filter back on. Put your cover back on. Hopefully you got a saw that is screaming again.